Joe here?
Show up for everybody in the world to see.
Thanks. But he may not be at
No running.
No one yet.
a, okay.
I can take it.
There you go.
Virgil came to me and said that he had talked to you. That's the smartest thing.
I don't think so, other than background.
Can I get that thing? I'm doing great. How
Oh,
are you?
you're gonna do parliamentary. Okay, call the meeting in
Another
order, right?
video. We are live.
Yep.
I'd like to bring the meeting to order, please.
Oh,
I
good.
just
He,
had- I
he
just had
asked
to
to
hit
do
this
that.
The recording
so-
has started.
He asked to do it, okay.
Send him to his room.
Yeah. Nancy locked the door. Anyway, good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Can we go ahead and before we even say the pledge, let's go ahead and silence our phones, please. And if you forget or you don't do it, what's our assessment now on phone interruptions? It goes to the flag fund, right? Okay, $10. Good? Oh, good.
First
All
I
right.
heard of it. I don't know that I like that.
So please leave
Okay,
your
let's
phones
go
on.
ahead and stand and do the pledge, please.
I just heard the first fine. Was that you, Dave?
Barb, make note of that, please, dear. Hey, where's Pat? Honestly, where's Pat?
I don't know.
I knew we had someone else on this board.
Must have been a traffic jam.
There's still donuts and coffee outside, so.
Somebody give him a ring.
Yeah,
I'm looking.
thank you.
Wait, this one's mine. You have to-
Alrighty. As Randy said, we are going to call this meeting to order. We have a lot of items are on our agenda today, and
Are you coming to the workshop? Good morning.
I know I said it.
I said, are you coming to the workshop? No, it's at 9. It's at 9. Okay, thanks.
Oh, that workshop.
Yeah. Alrighty.
He thought it was 10 like the other ones.
So we're just going to lay down some formatting for these meetings. We do have an agenda. We're going to do our best to follow that. I may not follow it in order. I'm going to try to address the most prevalent things first. We'll be discussing one subject at a time. Each of the board members will have the opportunity to speak. We'll be only speaking on the issue at hand, of course. Please ask for permission to speak and not interrupt. Go ahead.
Deb, I'd just like to say there's a happening here at 10:30, so I think we need to go in order and stop where we get at 10:30 and then regroup
Right.
at some other time.
And I agree, because I'd already put a 90-minute time limit on this, okay? Speaking only when recognized by your president, and addressing questions and comments to same. So let's go ahead and get this started. And the first thing that I want to look at is the approval of the HOA invoices. As you all know, we did have a resignation by Emily, who was a second signator on invoices. Is that right, Barb?
No, that's not right.
What was it?
Emily was first signer because Judy was, and the vice president before was. But what it really needs to be is the treasurer first, and another officer second, and another officer be a signatory for either person that cannot pay the bills that week. So it
Excellent.
needs 3 signatories: treasurer first, an officer second, and an officer third.
Gotcha. Thank you. Okay, so let's just go ahead and knock that out real quick. I would like to the board to consider John Genovese, and if he would be the second signature. He's in the park 24/7.
I think it should be officers.
Oh, you said officers. I'm sorry. Okay, I'll take it. And then the third you said was
You'll take what? What do you mean? I'll take it.
Do we have to vote on this?
No, I didn't know what you mean. I'll take it. Does that mean you're gonna be a signatory or,
Yes, on the invoices.
Sorry, Joe needs a link.
Oh,
The link messed up.
Go ahead.
I'm
I
fixing
thought I
that
heard
for
you
thanks.
answer me over there.
Nope.
It really doesn't matter, but I just thought that, secretary, treasurer, and another officer.
that's okay. I'm an officer.
Oh, are you?
Oh, hello. Here,
Clean up after the storm. Lost
First
track
of all-
the time.
here you go.
Thanks
Can
for
you
coming in
guys-
today, Pat.
All right.
And Deb, another thing too, we need to find out, while we're talking about the same thing, it comes under the bank accounts as well, but we need to find out who the signatories are on all of our accounts and get them updated, because I know there's probably old names that need to come off.
Eric and I are working on that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, sorry.
All right. And let me ask you this, on the third signator, why there need,
Because two people can't always, it has to have two
You have to
signatures
have a-
on the
okay.
check.
gotcha.
And two people can't always be available to do
Sure.
that, so we need a third that can replace either
It's
one of
just a
our
fallback.
signatures.
Okay.
It's a have-to case because it's happened before, Deb.
Okay, excellent. And with that being said, I'm just looking at our roster here. Hold on.
Can I
Please.
about this?
Mm-hmm.
Are electronic signatures allowed these days?
That's what it is, John. I mean, we don't physically sign the check. We just
Says DocuSign
go on
or
the
something.
account that First Service has set up for us through the bank to look at the invoices, pay the invoices each week on Tuesday, and by paying them with your signatories, our signature is on file with the bank, and all we do is okay it, and that's what
Right.
it is.
So it looks like if Pat would help us out as a fill-in on this. Sure. Thank you.
As
Okay.
a signatory, you mean, Deb? Yeah.
Mhm.
So then, so that we're all clear, signatory will be treasurer first, and
Got
who's
it.
second? Who is
Got it.
second?
I'll take it.
All right.
And Pat will take third. Fill-in.
I don't know if I have access to to that portion of the website yet.
David has.
I said I didn't know if I had access to that portion of the website yet.
Pat, you do have board member access through Connect as of right now, but this is a separate system that will have to get you set up in a different way, and I'll work with you and Eric on that.
And we also have to go to the bank to actually sign, Pat, whenever the names change. So that'll have to be done too, David.
Yes.
And you'll add Mr. Geneviese's access to, okay, good. Excellent. Barb and I had a meeting with Fish Services, and we were going over our current financials. And we identified some line items that need addressing by the board. Let me get those out. The first thing, the first thing that we need to correct is some write-offs that we've discussed. And, well, I'll find it in a minute. The first thing we need to discuss is some write-offs, and there is a $1,379 balance in, I would almost call it an obsolete, unused bank account. Correct, Barb?
Yes, but what it is the old debit card account that we used to use for Tina when she had a debit card. Then we switched to David having a credit card because it's much easier whenever he has to make purchases. And we just didn't want to have a debit card.
Exactly. And just to confirm the exact amount, it is,
$1379.12.
there it is, $1379.12, Bank United, correct?
No, it is.
That's what it's
Yes,
indicating.
it is. I'm sorry. That one
Yes.
is Bank United.
Okay, so basically, we would have to move those funds and close the account, okay?
Transfer it to the Click and Pay Click account, our main money account.
Right, which is also Bank United.
Right.
It's just a different account. So, with that being said, I think that we need a motion to do that.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. David, I don't know the process to move that through First Services.
It'll be in today's minutes, so I will send the minutes to the Treasury Department at First Service, and they will create a form and make the transfer for us and let us know when it's done.
All righty.
Deb, if I might add to, in that next thing that you're going to talk about, Pat might have some input on that as far as that one that we need to delete on our,
Right.
because he was definitely involved in that.
Okay, looking at our December 31st bank statement, or not bank statement, financial statement, it's listed under our assets, okay? And it's classified as other receivables developer. And what we've identified, it was what we thought was the unpaid portion of Patty's salary, which, for those of you who don't know, Patty Prohaska was a shared employee between the HOA and the developer. And that was an outstanding balance at one time that he owed us. However, since we have collected the settlement of $35,000, and it shows on our statement the income in the settlement of that $35,000, technically that item is totally wiped out now. So it's $41,173. Now, I'm wondering if we don't need to consult our CPA or someone on this, on actually how we need to do this, but we're going to have to get it off our statement, okay? Or the numbers don't run right.
I would suggest David call Spires and just be sure, but that's, Pat, I gave you that because that was the printout that we came to the conclusion that's probably what those funds are.
Yeah, that would be all washed away with the settlement, because
That's
that's all
right.
what that was.
Exactly.
It just keeps getting carried on our books that we need to.
Actually, Spire should probably pick it up this year, because it happened last year, so we would pick it up in this year's audit.
And he would do it as an audit write-off then?
Well, we could probably give him a heads up, but he should pick it up.
Do we need to, well, we'll ask him if we need documentation or a letter of authorization from the HOA to do that, so we have a paper trail.
Okay.
Sound good? Barb, was there, I think that was it. I'm just looking real quick.
It was, because we're going to keep that Bank of the Ozarks account, because it is not, it's not a First Service bank, but it is close to us. It's easy for them to get to the bank to make deposits. And it's for the gate cards,
Yeah.
deposit, or
Right. And Pat, just so you know, on our income statement dated December 31st, under the revenue accounts, it's the very last line item, and it is called litigation income, and it was $35,002. Don't know where we got the two, but by gosh, there it is, right? We'll take it. I think that wraps up just cleaning up the financials, right?
yes.
Okay, mark that one off too. All righty. So at the breakfast, at the coffee on Monday morning, there was a challenge given to the board and to the social committee. Jim Roop and company have put the effort forth to get us a new flag that we're proud of, I think lighted and with recognition to all the different services that we have, our military services. And I believe the figure was $833 that they would like to see both the social committee and the board to contribute. But before we make any discussion or decisions on that, I'd like to call on Mr. Genovese, who could possibly give us an update on some things he did on his own and is quite admirable.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I, was part of another group that, years ago, and whenever we would have an event, we would go to the local establishments and ask them for donations. And, I thought this was a pretty worthy cause, so I went to the folks over at, they're out in our parking lot today, La Mesa, and it's Camping World, and also Home Depot, and asked them all for donations. La Mesa doesn't have it in their budget, have it in their budget to show up here today, but.
Because they're always buying donuts for us.
Yeah, right. Actually, that's what they said. But anyway, and Camping World hasn't responded yet. I do know for Home Depot, they don't really give money for things like this, but they'll donate product. We simply need to give them a list of what we need, submit it. They love veterans, so this is a pretty good cause for them.
Extra initiative on your part. So, what did Camping World say, if I could ask?
Camping World hasn't responded yet. And I was actually asking if I send them an email, my signature has board of directors. Is that okay, or should I do this more on a private side without that?
I don't think that's
I
okay.
don't think so. I don't think we
That's not
should.
appropriate, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just do it as a private resident.
Yeah,
Yep. All right.
it carries the same weight, you are Cypress Woods.
So.
Fair enough.
Right now, I'm going to skip over the next item, which is our reserve projects, because that I know is going to be the most lengthy discussion we have today. But quickly, I would like to go ahead and address, we have a current process right now that on the weekends, if a new renter or a new owner comes physically into the park at the gate, luckily during gate greeter hours, we can get them in. But if they come prior to or after gate greeter hours on the weekends, it's a real challenge if those owners of the renters or the new owner doesn't have an access card, okay? So anyway, on Monday morning they come to the office, and David or Nicole will actually currently sell them a swipe card for $25, correct? And the current policy is that you charge them, but once they end their lease, they turn it back in and they're refunded $25. Well, that is an accounting nightmare, actually, just a follow-through nightmare. So we wanted to consider changing the process and making it more administratively simple. Now, so I asked David to give us what is the cost per card, and I think you both have talked on that. What is our cost per swipe card?
Well, we were actually able to get them programmed directly from the manufacturer instead of using one of our gate vendors the way we have in the past. So the current price is about $2.20 per card, down from close to $10.
Yeah, our vendors charged us almost $10.
That's some good research on both your parts, by the way.
Thanks, Barb.
Okay, thank you, Barb. So knowing that the cost is only $2.20, okay, is it worth the administrative time that we're investing? And David, I want to make sure that when you issue a swipe card to a short-term renter or any renter, I know you set an activation date, but I know you have the ability, but do you put an expiration date on that card?
We don't have the ability.
You don't have it,
No.
okay.
Our gate software program and, well, even more so the program for this building, for the swipe cards, they're both pretty dated.
Okay.
What we do, we can put notes in there, and then, well, first off, when Nicole archives a renter or an owner who's moved, that's part of her process. She pulls the folder when she's switching all the paperwork over. She can go through and delete them. But we put notes in for every individual card that says this person is here, February through March 2020. So we'll see when we go through. I mean, you just scroll down the list and look.
Okay.
It's pretty clear the way they stand out.
Okay.
But the well, go ahead. And I think I know where you're going with this.
Okay, but I did want to say, if they come on the weekends, okay, during gate greeter hours, we are giving them a temporary passcode that will get them in and out for the next 48 hours until the office is open on Monday. And we are doing that.
Right.
So Barb, please.
Deb, before you go any further, the money for the card is not the issue. It's not the thing. I mean, we could give it to them for free at $2 a piece. But the issue is this: if you charge a person that is not an owner with $25 that's refundable when you turn your card in, you're more apt to have them come in and say, okay, Nicole, here's my card. She can deactivate it right then. If they don't, and Nicole researches the system periodically and sees that Barb Burge has a card and she's no longer here, she was a renter, she can delete it then. But it's just a
Security.
security, exactly, because we don't want to keep giving out cards and giving out cards, because if that was the case, they pass it to their friend, they give it to their neighbor that lives in Cape Coral. That was our issue.
And that has happened. Yes. Anyone else want to chime in on your thoughts on this process? Do we want to keep the process that is in place right now, or do we need to look at it?
May I speak?
Please, Dwayne.
David, how difficult or expensive or time consuming would it be to change the program where we could easily deactivate those cards with the software?
Well, again, we can easily deactivate now. I mean, it's a 30-second process.
I mean, with an expiration date that's sort of
Yeah,
pre-programmed
that
in.
I don't know the answer to that because all of our gate hardware is pretty dated. So there's only so many programs that can run off of the older scanners and keypad that we have. I mean, and Dorking, they still use this program today. It's just the setup that we have. It's really what's required, and there may be a couple other options that aren't much better. But this is a bigger discussion that needs to go to the gate maintenance companies and things to give us some options.
Okay.
But
And Dwayne,
we tried
just-
to upgrade.
Sorry, David, just for your information too, Dwayne, it couldn't automatically be like it deactivates the end of April, because a lot of times people say, hey, I'm gonna stay 3 or 4 more days, and then you would have that issue to deal with too.
Okay. So at your recommendation, I think you're absolutely right. We're going to have to look in and discuss with the gatekeeper to see what the ability is, if we can set an expiration date when we issue the card, and then I think we could make a better decision.
Well, right. I'll get prices on a different program, but the last thing that we were told, because of the age of the controller, which is our keypad, that's the brains of the whole operation, we would have to upgrade that in order to use a different type of software. But I will get that information. And just so you know, it's not just a $2 per card cost to us. The package that we have through the gate software and for this building has a certain card allotment, and if you go too high, if we had 1,000 active cards, the subscription cost to use their program, it's like a licensing fee, that changes. So we do have to keep it under a certain number. So we wouldn't just be selling cards and give people as many as they want. We still need to, the cost needs to reflect the extra cost that the association will have if there's too many of them active out there.
Good point. So with that being said, we'll table this discussion until he go and gets the information from the vendor, okay? Let's go down to governing. We've had a frequent violator, Mr. A15, and he has created just this week 2 ongoing repeated violations, of which I believe, David, it's in the packet, is it not? Where
his last 2 for the same issue are also in your packet.
Correct. And Pat, we need to set a fine today, okay? And before we do that, what I would appreciate is if you would read the notice and then also read our policy so everyone's aware of that. Oh, he needs to.
You mean the fining procedure?
Yes.
Okay. Adopted by the Board of Directors as of it, the date hasn't been put on here yet. Declaration of covenants, conditions and restrictions and other governing documents and the supporting rules and regulations of Cypress Woods RV Resorts Homeowners Associations, Inc. Association were created to ensure that all owners and their guests enjoy a fair and harmonious living experience. Any owner, tenant, vendor, invitee, or guest who is not adhering to the governing documents of the association will be subject to violations and fines per Article 13 of the Declaration and Section 702.305, subsection 2 of the Florida statutes. Violation procedures will be enforced and applied in a uniform and consistent manner. In accordance with Section 702305, subsection 2, the Florida statutes, and Section 13 of the declarations, all as amended from time to time, the Board of Directors of the Association, the Board, hereby, well, it's probably my hearing aid. Where was I? Okay. Hereby adopts as part of the rules and regulations the procedures for the levy of fines contained herein for the imposition of fines and other measures to compel members, owners, tenants, guests, and invitees to comply with the government documents of the association. Copies of 720-305 subsection 2 Florida statutes 2019 and section 13 of the declaration are attached for information and reference purposes only. These procedures are intended to assist the association in following at least the minimum requirements of the law for the imposition of fines. Failure to strictly follow these procedures will not invalidate a fine if the minimum requirement of the statute and declaration are not met. Terms not otherwise defined herein shall have the meaning prescribed to them by the government documents of the association. The levy of a fine shall not be an election of remedies, and it will be without the prejudice of the association's right to pursue all other available legal remedies. Step 1, creation of the fining committee. The board shall appoint at least 3 members of the association to serve as members of the fining committee. The committee may select one of the 3 members as a chairperson and another to serve as secretary. The members of the fining committee may not be officers, directors, or employees of the association, or the spouse, parent, child, brother, sister of an officer, director, or employee. The board reserves the right to remove any member of the fining committee for any reason or for no reason. Appointment and removal of members of the fining committee shall be done at an open and noticed meeting of the board of directors. Members of the fining committee serve until the removal or resignation. The fining committee may meet on a regular schedule, such as monthly or quarterly, or may meet on an as-needed basis as determined by the fining committee. Step 2, informal warnings. The association may, but is not required to provide written or verbal warnings or friendly reminders to the owner regarding an alleged violation of the governing documents. These warnings may be given by the members of the board of directors or by the association's management and are intended to resolve violations without the time and expense of formal enforcement action. Whether to give informal warnings or reminders is in the discretion of the association and will depend on a variety of factors, including the nature and severity of the violation, the time and cost involved in curing the violation, repeat violations, and convenience of the association. Giving informal warnings in one instance shall not create an obligation to give informal warnings in another instance, if it is done merely as a convenience or courtesy. Step 3, delivery of the violation notice. The board or its delegate will send a single violation notice, the violation notice, by certified mail, return receipt requested to the owner's address of record, as well as to any violating tenant or occupant of the owner's lot, if applicable. The violation notice will explain the violation and require that it be corrected or a plan for correction be submitted within the time frame prescribed, typically 1 to 30 days depending on the violation. A simple single violation notice is attached here as Exhibit A. Step 4, levying of the fine by the board. If a single violation notice does not result in a timely compliance, the next step is the levying of a fine by the board on the agenda at a properly noticed board meeting. No notice is required other than the regular 48-hour posted notice, but the violation and any other unit owner who attends and desires to speak shall be allowed to speak on the agenda item to the same extent that the owners are permitted to speak on other agenda items. If the board decides to move forward with the fine, then there should be a motion along with the following lines. I make a motion for the determination that the unit owner has violated the governing documents and that the owner be fined the maximum allowed by law, which is $100 per day for each day of continuing violations and $1,000 in the aggregate, for a total of $1,000, and that the matter be scheduled as soon as possible for the fining committee to either confirm or reject the fine, and if approved by the fining committee, that notice of the fine be immediately sent to the owner. That motion needs to pass by a majority vote of the board meeting and be reflected in the minutes. The board may levy a lesser fine or make a finding that there is no violation so that no fine will be imposed, or decide to give the violator more time before reconsidering at a later date the imposition of a fine. Although the statute in section 20.305 subsection 2 Florida statutes does not limit the fine to $1,000, section 13.1 subsection E of the declarations currently provides that the maximum amount of a fine is $100 per violation, and that the fine may be leveled on the basis of each day of a continuing violation, and that no such fine exceeds $1,000 in the aggregate. Step 5. When the time period stated in a single violation notice expires and the board has determined that the fine amount, a copy of the violation notice and notice of the fining hearing, Exhibit B, will be sent to the offender via certified mail return receipt to the owner's permanent address of record. The date of the fining hearing should be selected so that at least a quorum of the members of the fining committee will be able to attend, and that the notice of the fining hearing can be sent out to the owner at least 14 days in advance of the hearing date. Note that the hearing is not an appeal. A simple violation letter and notice of filing, sample violation notice and formal hearing is attached as Exhibit B. Step 6, the hearing. The hearing shall be during a meeting of the fining committee. In addition to the 14-day notice given to the owner of the notice of hearing shall also be posted in a conspicuous place 48 hours in advance with the date, time, and place of the hearing. The hearing shall afford the owner reasonable opportunity to be heard. Prior to the confirmation of a fine hereinafter, proof of proper notice shall be placed in the minutes of the meeting. The notice requirement shall be deemed satisfied if the alleged violator or his designated representative appears at the meeting of the fining committee. The minutes of the meeting shall contain a written statement of the results of the hearing and whether the fine was confirmed or rejected. The hearing shall be conducted in accordance with Florida statutes, chapter 720.305. The fining committee shall have the power to confirm or reject any fine imposed by the board. The fining committee is not authorized to modify the fine amount as set by the board. In order to conduct committee business, a quorum of at least 2 members must be present. At each meeting of the fining committee, the committee will review all fines levied by the board through the process and confirm or reject the same. If a fine is confirmed, the fining hearing suggests the motion is I make to confirm that a violation exists and a proposed fine of $100 per day up to a maximum amount of $1,000. I suggest a suggested agenda for the fining committee is attached here as Exhibit C. Step 7, notice of decision. After the hearing, the association shall send notice to all owners upon whom a fine is proposed, including those who do not attend the meeting, regarding whether the fine was confirmed or rejected by the committee. Notice of decision. The notice of decision should inform the owner who are fined that they have 5 days from the date of the hearing within which to pay the outstanding fine and correct the violation if applicable. The notice of decision will state that the association will pursue legal remedies, including bringing a lawsuit to collect the fine and compel the owner to correct the violation. Management will update the board regarding the fining committee decision at the next board meeting. A sample notice of the notice of decision is attached hereto as Exhibit D. Step 8, collection legal action. If the fine is confirmed by the fining committee is not paid or the violation not corrected, the board or its delegate may refer the file to legal counsel for enforcement. Step 9, suspension for non-payment. If a member is more than 90 days delinquent in paying a fine that has been confirmed by the fining committee, the association, by action of the board, may suspend the rights of a member or or the member's guest, tenant, or invitee to use common areas and facilities until the fine is paid in full. The suspension does not apply to that portion of the common areas used to provide access or utility service to the parcel. A suspension may not prohibit an owner or tenant of a parcel from having vehicular or pedestrian ingress and egress from the parcel, including but not limited to the right to park. Notice and hearing requirements for such a suspension are 48 hours posted. In addition to, the association may suspend the voting rights of a parcel member for non-payment of any fine due to the association that is more than 90 days delinquent. And you don't want me to read these exhibits, do you?
No, I think we're done.
Feel like Adam
So that's the longest policy you'll ever hear, honestly. We don't have any that lengthy.
You need water, Pat?
It's not coffee, yeah. So so the board's perfectly clear, this violation notice that was issued this week is for the violation that occurred on Sunday, December 6th, and is that Wednesday? No, I'm sorry, Sunday, February 2nd, and Wednesday, February 5th. And it's noted in the violation that there was 2 reoccurring ones, December 6th and December 9th. So we're looking at 4 repeat violations on this, folks. And the fine will be set for each violation that occurred this week. So, discussion? Okay. Anyone want to recommend a fine amount?
I have one question. There is a letter that he has in his possession saying he can have that here.
Is there? From?
Yes, there is, and Joe knows about the letter, and apparently the letter was before the actual vehicle came on site. What he had described he was purchasing is not exactly what he purchased. So he was given sort of a pre-approval, but it's not the right vehicle. Joe, I hear that you're on here now. Speak on this.
Yes, he originally told Tina this was a golf cart. It is by no means a golf cart. By John Deere's own literature, it is an extreme utility vehicle. And there is no way it belongs in this park being run around. And he is aware of that. This goes back quite a while. And it's been out of here for quite a while. Now he's decided he can bring it back in and drive around and show it off. And so it is in the docks. It was not grandfathered. And it is not, and I repeat, it is not a golf cart. It's not even, you can't even call it a gas golf cart.
Do we have any documentation that proves we had the discussion with him that the original letter of approval was for Model A, and then he brings in Model B, and that is not an approved vehicle? We do not.
No, I don't believe we do. We have the documentation that he claims he submitted. I don't have that on file. He showed me what he gave to Tina, but we don't know if that's true. And again, he does have some document that gave him permission before the actual vehicle was on site.
Pat?
Yeah, that was, I wasn't aware of the, all the nuances of it, but I do know the letter existed telling him that he could have it. And I just didn't want to see us stick our neck into something we can't get out of.
I think we need to err on a word of caution. Sounds like we have a loose end here. If you want, I can consult with our HOA attorney on this, and we can table this fine until the violation is still in effect. The thing is that we just haven't set a fine. So if the board's in agreement that we seek counsel on this, we will do that.
Can I say something?
Please.
There is a letter. The letter stated that Tina approved it when she in fact sent the request to the entire board. Now I might have that on my phone. Why, I don't know, but I have it. And then the board at that point gave permission for this gator, but it wasn't the golf cart gator as Joe just spoke. It was changed out from a two-seater to a four-seater and an extreme utility vehicle. So I think I do have that letter.
Well, if you do, if you can get it to us. All right, let's move it. Okay, let's move on then. All
Deb,
right.
I would like to offer a suggestion.
Thank you, Dwayne.
And let me preface it first with a question. Has anybody from the board attempted to sit down with Mr. Barlow and see if we can work out a resolution that's satisfactory to all parties?
Being that we're in litigation currently, I'm not quite sure. We would have to get the approval of the attorney to do the same thing.
Is there a lawsuit on this particular?
Yes, sir. He
Okay.
has sued the HOA, and we in turn have sued him for violation and noncompliance to our documents.
Okay, and typically in civil litigation, judges require that mediation be attempted. Has that taken place?
Yes, it is. It's not taking place. It is going to be.
Excuse me, I don't think this is a proper venue for discussing this case, but Dwayne, just for your information, the opportunity of mediation has come and gone.
I believe that's up to the judge to decide that. What I would like to propose. Try again, is that better?
That's good.
What I would like to propose is that we table this until our attorney has advised us that we're right for carrying out any kind of enforcement action.
Everyone agreed? Okay.
So be it.
All righty.
Thank you.
Very good. Okay. I'm going to skip down to maintenance because all I want David to do is give us, the board, and the community quick updates on each of these items. That's all.
Okay, I'll run down. The barcode scanner, as I said in the last meeting, they sent parts, not the scanner itself. That has been ordered, and Jason said that we should be installed actually early next week.
Could I ask something, David?
Yes.
I thought we had that same answer last week.
That's what we had. This came this morning. I talked to him before.
And what company are we dealing with now? A new one?
Cypress Access Systems.
I guess I'm not really satisfied with that answer. It's the simplest way to say that when we keep getting the same thing over and over again.
Well, we've been through all the issues that we had with them ordering it. They made the order. A box came without everything we needed. He just asked me this morning, said, make sure, send them over a copy of or a picture of the serial number to make sure that we've actually got the right thing in stock this time, which I've done. So he said we should be installed next week. And a deposit's already been paid. That part's done.
With the confusion on parts, I just hope that the bid they submitted to us is for the right parts and that price is what we agreed upon.
It wasn't a confusion on parts. It was when they made the initial order and they received a package. First they sent me tracking information. Here it is. It'll be here in this day. We'll install it on this day. It wasn't the actual scanner itself. It was just accessory wiring and that sort of thing.
What kind of a down payment did we make, and why did we have to make a down payment?
Well, it's a $7,000 part. We gave them 50% up front.
Oh,
Okay.
Pool furniture update. We've given them the color choices. He will get me a date. Usually they're 4 to 6 weeks out, but again, if they do this now, the day they show up to take our existing furniture and do the refurbish, they show up in a truck filled with replacement furniture for us. So they will put out the replacement furniture, take all of ours. We'll have no disruption in, furniture we won't be without, and they'll give us the same amount that they're taking away. So 50 chairs in, 50 chairs out.
who is they, David?
Leisure Furniture is the company that we approved at our last board meeting.
Thank you.
The maintenance help for Chris has started. He started yesterday, and Chris is kind of training him on the daily tasks that he'll be responsible for every morning that he's here. such as blowing off the pool deck every morning with all the leaves that are dropping in it, cleaning out the dumpster areas, straightening the chairs, that sort of thing. And he's been helping Chris get through some of the irrigation issues that we have on site. It goes much faster with two people, so one of them can be out there to verify what's happening, and the other one can be in at the controller making changes and things. So we're making progress there, but he has started. Contractor sign-in, that process is in place. I checked the list this morning. We've had, 3 of our vendors, they're all the only ones who have been here since this has been in place, have signed in. And
Is Pool Pros one of them, David?
no, Pool Pros has not signed in except for their maintenance, but their regular, pool service man in the morning did not sign in.
And he did not sign out. I was at the gate one day and he just drove right through without going to the office. So maybe you need to contact them and let them know we're serious.
Right. We've given the green light for the ACD intersection light. Young's Electric has not given us a date on that yet, but they're also now doing quite a bit of other work for us. Well, maybe. We have some other smaller work that they have to come back out and finish just to get some of our current things working. In the back of this packet that the board has, there's actually a proposal for some work for our pool heaters. We'll talk about that in a second, but we don't have a date, but parts are being ordered. They have to get a pole and that sort of thing before they can come out and actually install the street light, but that should be in the works as well. Same deal with the spa window. They've ordered the part, they've made the measurement, and as soon as the actual glass comes in, then they will come out and install the spa window. Swale clearing. Randy and I met with a vendor yesterday, Matt Yates from Yates Excavating. We showed him the areas that need to be done, including the part that Cypress Trails is responsible for maintaining, because, maybe we can get them to pay for their portion of it when it comes time. In any case, we'll have a quote to know what it costs to do their section and our section separately. I have a couple other vendors that are also going to come out in the next week or so and get us some prices. The issue that we're running into right now, and Randy can attest to this, it's hard for them to access that area because there's really no wide common area entrances to where that swale is. The closest one, Randy, you know the address?
Is at the corner of D136 and Jeff and Sherry Parks. In order to get this excavator in, Matt indicated he needed a minimum of 13 feet. Well, there's a Bismarck tree right in the middle of the common area. It's black, it's dying. I would say that in order to get Matt, if that's who we decide to go with, that Bismarck needs to come out of there. We need to open up, and that way it'll open up all the way on the west side of the park, down through the southwest side also, behind the swales. But we just need to think smarter before we just start letting people put trees in where they...
At the risk of sounding stupid, could somebody, one of you, tell me what swales you're talking about and what are you talking about doing? Digging a ditch where you're talking about between there? Could you explain it?
We have an idea of what we want. We're just waiting to see. There's a swale at the north end corner. In order for that swale, which also ties into Stormwater Doctor's project plan, the culvert stands 18 inches higher than the current grade. So in order for the water to flow in that, you have at least 2.5 feet of water standing in the northwest corner. Avi, Cypress Trails, screwed that up when they cleared all that to allow his piping and swales that go into Cypress Trails. So yes, Barb, that one on the northwest corner needs to be graded, so it grades into the overflow culvert. The trees need to be cleared out. Our inspection yesterday was that everybody that has potted plants that they no longer want gets tossed into that swale. Now with the hurricane 2 years ago, trees went over, so we have root systems that are impeding the actual flow. So to clear out the trees that don't allow water runoff, to clear out the swales that don't allow the water to sheet off the property. This is just the starting point of stormwater doctor and getting somebody in to clear the swales. So it's pretty intense. Also, there was talk that behind the double D loop, water does not flow uphill, at least in my 8 years experience. So there's, depending on how far and what the funds will allow right now, this is just the first starting point.
So Randy, where are you talking about that water lays that we need to make sure we get rid of by these swale
If you go,
excavations?
if you go into the double D loop, starting at D136 all the way right back through to D152, water lays out there.
You're talking about on the street?
No, we're talking behind each.
So we had an inch of water last night. Is it laying there today?
This isn't the place to debate that. We are making small baby steps without breaking the bank. Right now, if we hired a company to come out and do this, we're looking at over $100,000. So to answer your question, an inch of rain, no, because the ground is not saturated. You come into the rainy months like we're here, we get 3 to 5 inches every day, and yes, that water does lay there. So our biggest concern is we need to work from the outside in, clear the swales so there's a place for the water to go, because these retention ponds only can hold so much. So this is the starting point that we're working on, Barb.
Okay, can I ask Pat to join in on this?
Yeah, Randy, has anybody approached Cypress Trails? Maybe they can get in,
No,
because that swale runs behind Robert's old house up there, and then it goes around and comes down behind our lots, and then it goes all the way back around out to Country Lakes.
from what Dave and I was able to get out of Matt, this piece of equipment that comes in, I mean, I don't know how he's gonna do that. We can't, the hedges that were planted to hide that swale still have to remain. It's the trees that are 6 to over a foot in diameter that need to come out. And he's got a variation of equipment, correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, and he's trying to work that out to see what he can get back in there without destroying anything. So it's a tight squeeze between our side of the swale and Cypress Trails side of the swale.
So let me go ahead and let's move on, because I agree with Randy on this. This isn't the time, nor are we ready to even, go into good discussion, because we're going to need a lot of advice on this. There's no doubt about it. Possibly even engineering, who knows? Because we're talking lay of the land here. It sounds like it's not what we had hoped for. So he gave us the update, both of you gentlemen, and I appreciate that. And we're going to keep moving forward and just chipping away at it. David and I did talk this week, though, on we need a face-to-face discussion. We haven't had that with Cypress Trails, and we need to make sure that they understand there's an X amount of running feet that they're they are responsible for, and we need to have that face-to-face, and then we'll follow up with a documented discussion, and we'll have it on file.
Right, and just now that Randy kind of cleared some of that up back there, what part is ours, what part is theirs, and it matches the maps. If they were to clean out their section of the swale before we did anything, we would have an awful lot of water flowing and hitting a dead end there, and really flooding out those homes in the corner where the two swales come together. So while we do want them to get on some of that, we need to be careful about if they clean their section first. That what that does is it takes the water from Cypress Trail and funnels it around our park. But if it can't make it through our swales, then we're just going to create more problems. So
Thanks for the update. It's a little bit scary, isn't it? A little bit concerning. Alrighty, sprinkler training.
Scheduled for next Friday morning in this room, actually.
That would be what, February 14th?
Yes.
Right?
9 a.m.
And who will be conducting that?
That would be Chris and myself. Mostly Chris, but I'll be running the videos.
Okay, can we get the memo out to the community on that ASAP today?
Will do.
Alrighty. And you're having a visual presentation on that?
Chris is going to have, some of the different models of heads that we have. So he'll do some hands-on work, and then there are some pretty informative YouTube videos that, you know, they're 2 minutes long that really show what they should be doing and what they shouldn't be doing.
Wonderful. I'll jump in. On February 19th, we have a First Service Residential Quality Assurance Inspection being conducted by their QA team that will come and spend about 3 or 4 hours, and it'll be an excellent guide for us to follow to put certain things in place, okay? And then we need to talk about the pool.
Yes.
Let's go. Let's get this knocked out.
Well, the back page of your packets is a quote from Young's Electrical.
Can I ask a question? Is this been recommended by the Facilities Committee?
Yes. Steve, do you have a second to come up and really explain how we got to this point?
Morning.
I've seen the estimate from Thank you. I've seen the estimate from Young's Electric. I've also been in contact with Integrity Electric, but they gave us no time frame as to when they would even come out and look at it. When David and I first talked about this, he asked me what my thoughts were for a price, and I said it would run probably between $4,000 and $6,000. We ended up at $4,600, which I think is a fair price for what needs to be done out there. I'm going, if the board approves this to be done, and I hope they do, I'm going to contact Young's Electric and make sure that we get the same electrician out there that was out there the day that I met with him. He's knowledgeable, he's professional, we can converse very well together, and he'll do the job right. So I think, as far as my recommendation would be, I would go with this bid, and I would get it on board as quickly as we possibly can so we can get these heaters back up and running.
And what is that time date?
There isn't any. I mean, we have to approve this first, and then Young's Electric get it on their schedule.
Do we have a lead time at all?
No, not at this point. I mean, I will contact, once it's approved, I will contact Young's Electric, and I've already impressed on them a couple of times. This is an ASAP, yesterday type of situation.
And who will see the oversight of the work?
I will.
Okay.
Yep.
And could I just say real quick, right now at the direction of AquaCal, which is our 3 working heaters, they're all shut down. We have no working heaters at that pool as of the last visit because they found so many electrical issues feeding those heaters that, you know, we're under warranty. And when they tell us you need to shut these down or you're going to cause more problems and you're probably not going to be under warranty for these repairs, we had to shut them down. So we've got nothing until
So
we
not
can move
being an
forward.
electrician, if we approve this $4,600 expense for upgrading our electric to these heaters, how many heaters will we have functional and how many will we need to purchase?
3 heaters will be functional. The 2 10-year-old heaters will never run again. So we still
Will we
need to
need
replace
them?
Yes.
Have we secured prices on 2 additional heaters?
We have some prices, but we are looking at a different heater. We want the same heaters that are out there now. There is a system, so to replace the old heaters with 2 additional AquaCals, and they have a new controller setup that will run all of the heaters in the most efficient way because they're all being controlled by 1 unit, as opposed to setting 5 individual thermostats and 5 sets of issues really to go wrong.
Okay, so looking at the big picture.
Yes.
Which means step 1 is get the electric fixed, step 2 is get 2 more heaters.
Correct.
What's a ballpark figure on each of those heaters?
Around $4,500 is what
Another
we've paid in the
9,000.
past. So, I mean, per heater. So roughly that
Per heater.
Per heater.
Okay, 18 grand.
No, well, no. We need 2 heaters at $4,500 a piece.
I thought I heard you say 9,000 a piece.
No, sorry.
No,
So about 9,000 total, give or take, with this, if we can and if we choose to upgrade to the single controller to run all of the heaters. And again, part of how we got to this point was having two different systems installed, trying to run together,
Sure.
everything running independently. Some heaters were running overtime while others weren't working at all because there's no communication between them. So
Okay.
this is a long-term fix.
Okay,
Have,
Pat,
have a
please.
question.
Just a second, Pat was
Yeah,
on board.
This voltage problem has been going on since we took over the board in 2013. They tried to adjust the motor so they would run on a lower voltage, which is not a good thing. So I think we probably have wasted more money trying to keep Band-Aid this thing than it costs to correct it right. So I would make a motion that we go ahead with this.
Second?
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hallelujah is all I can say. Okay, so David, we need to get a time frame so we can feed this back to the community. Now,
Now, do we,
yeah, go ahead.
I have a question. So we have 3 functional heaters and 2 that'll have to be replaced. Providing that the electric gets done, the correct voltage, amperage to these 3 motors, can that heat the pool as we look into maybe buying an extra heater, or do we just take the plunge and do it all? Will 3 heaters get us through right now?
Depends on the weather, but
Do it all?
well, so
Because
Right.
here's why. We've been in the park 6 years, and that pool heater has been a bone of contention since we've been in the park, and everybody that's approached me or any other board member says, hey, look, really? The pool heater's done again?
yeah.
All right. John has made a comment too, though.
Yeah, how much is that controller?
I'm
You
not
know?
sure. We don't have a price on
Do
the
we,
controller.
do we
and
think it'll either make the heaters last longer, save electricity?
all of the above?
That's a no-brainer.
Make a motion to get it all done now.
I have a question along the same lines as John, but didn't we already replace that one that we have now?
The one what?
The controller that does what it does now?
No, every heater has its own individual controller now. They're all independent systems. So what this would be is one unit would be the master, and then you would have 4 slave units that do whatever that master unit tells them. So if your water is at 70 degrees and you want it to be 75, it runs all of them until your water is heated up. Now, the way they're linked together,
Okay.
they don't all run.
Okay, we see light at the end of the tunnel, right? All right.
Deb, do we want to decide on that, the 2
heater?
heaters as well? Because
We don't have
We don't have
actual
bids.
prices on it. What we
Right.
have is a quote for some built rights, and we know that we've paid $4,500 a piece for these current ones in the past. We don't know how much the controller system will be.
Right. But we are going to talk about it when it comes to setting priorities for our projects, and we'll factor that dollar amount in, even though it's a guesstimate. Because we got to look at the financing.
yes, but I guess I want to make sure that David is looking into that now to have us a price so that we
Well, I
can
think the
decide
facilities committee.
so that
will
we
look
can
at- yeah.
decide on doing it all.
ASAP. Absolutely. I agree with you. Randy, you'll follow through with that? Okay.
What's that?
On the facilities, where's Steve? Are you there?
Yes.
So Steve, you'll work on getting the prices on the heaters and the controller?
Tom Ritchie is working on that with me.
Yeah, Mike,
Not Steve for the heaters. It's Tom Ritchie.
We just want to make sure that we get bids ASAP on the 2 needed heaters and controllers.
Well, the controller I know nothing about, so that's up to Dave.
David's going to do that one? Okay,
Yeah, Tom Ritchie was helping me out with that.
Gotcha.
So we're working on it.
okay.
Mike Baker, do you have any questions, or, because you're the head guy there? Okay, thank you.
Thank you to the facilities committee, a huge, huge thank you. Nancy, did you have a comment, my dear?
Hang on.
I didn't see Charlie, I'm sorry.
Charlie Lawrence, A11. I would suggest before we get the electrical upgrade done, that we get the information on the single controller and ask the question, is that upgrade going to be enough to power that controller?
Yes.
Because we can start the electrical upgrade now.
So the part of the direction for the electrical upgrade came directly from AquaCal, and they're the ones that have also recommended this controller. So it's all coming from the same source, which is the manufacturer of these heaters.
I understand that, but I'd like to have Young's take a review of that, what AquaCal's providing, so we get them out here once and have enough power to do that.
Good point.
The controller, it's literally just a control pad that replaces the existing buttons. Instead of a button, it'll
I'm
be.
not asking for an explanation, David. I'm asking for an interface between the two vendors
Yes.
so we get what we need the first time and not have to revisit this again.
Got it.
I agree.
I agree.
I do.
Yes, the years I've been here, I don't have a hearing aid. Every year as it gets cold, they say, oh, the heaters don't work when it's cold. That's when we need the heaters the most. Will these heaters work when the temperature gets below a certain amount?
No. No, these are heat pump heaters, correct. They extract heat from the air. They work the way a reverse air conditioner, basically. If you stand out there in between the heaters, you have ice cold air blowing on you, and it's taking the heat from the air and heating the water with it. There are some other systems out there, not very energy efficient if you had an electric heating coil to do it. Solar also doesn't work when it's cold out. It actually works the opposite way. Geothermal is the one heating system that would work for us when the temperatures drop down into the 60s and 50s and whatever else. The quote we got for geothermal heat was $130,000.
Nancy, that was a great question, by the way. Okay.
Try and clarify something. These new controller that they're talking about, if my guess is correct, it's replacing the controller pads that are on the units now.
Yes.
So what they're doing is they're replacing 3 of those controller pads at this point with one.
Correct.
That will control everything. Doesn't require any additional electrical feeds or anything else. It runs
That
right
is
off the
correct
machine.
also.
Okay.
One more thing, did we get bids from Newell to lay the new flooring into that area with the gravel?
Haven't yet. I've talked to John Edwards, and I will talk to Newell as soon as I can find out who I need to talk to at Newell. But that will come after all this is done.
So we're gonna clean up the look for it's safer and it's not as wet and there won't be mud around it.
Exactly.
And water.
Right.
Got it.
One thing I'm going to do, which I can do without a problem of any licenses or anything else, we need to run a piece of caffeine. One thing we need to do out there, we've got an acid line and a chlorine line laying on the ground. I will go to Home Depot, Lowe's, whatever, I'll pick up some half-inch PVC, lay it, run those lines through. Actually, I'll have the pool company run the lines through.
Right.
But I'll make a pipe for them before we put this stone down so they're protected also.
Excellent. Thank you again, Facilities Committee. You've done an awesome job on this. Yeah. Okay. Barb and I and Joe will be meeting with First Services next week to look at our contract renewal. Barb and I are meeting prior to that, though, to work out some things. Let me look here just a second. We agreed that the boards will all operate under one separate email account. You'll each have your own individual one, a Gmail account. And if you haven't set it up, I'm going to ask John to work with us to make sure that that happens, okay?
Piece of cake.
Piece of cake, he says. So can we get that done in the next couple of days? Okay, thank you. And you'll just follow up with each board member to make sure it's set up, okay? We do have our Laguna Caribe office space lease is being prepared by our attorney, Mr. Chris Thornton. And that will be able to present with our friends, hopefully next week. We'll be issuing a statement to the community. There was a huge misunderstanding when Emily gave the report on the gazebo allowances here in the community, and I think we need to clear that up because we've been bombarded with requests for, particularly SOJAG, the hard top 14 by 16 or whatever it is, gazebo, and we need to clear that up, and that was not what was approved, so we'll be getting an email blast out to the community, and thank you, Dwayne, for sending that document. We're going to send that to him as well with the link to explain that code. Okay, thank you. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and get into the appointment of the board committees and the communication liaisons so we can get our foundation set, and then we're going to try to wrap it up with identifying our Cypress Woods projects. So I believe David was kind enough. Let me look here just a second. Get my papers. If I can find it.
Towards
There
the
we go.
back.
So in your packet, board members, 2020 Cypress Woods HOA board committees with oversight responsibilities as well. This is our proposal, and we'll go down the line, and if there's any conversation, let's go ahead and consider that. As far as communication to the property manager, to First Services and attorneys, I will be that designate. For expense reasons and for continuity, I'll call myself the funnel. So if you would be kind enough to send every inquiry to me, I will make sure that it's forwarded and followed up on. We're going to call it the E Committee. I would like to appoint Joe Regenstein and Pat Zolo to that committee to work with our new partners. Any discussion? Okay. The Finance Committee, I would like to oversee that. I have a very firm knowledge of our finances and how to read the financials, and I would like to continue with that. Facility Committee, I would like to appoint Randy Payne as the oversight person for that. For our Grounds Committee, I would like David Flower.
How long have I been here? You
Blower.
still can't say my
Blower.
last name?
David B. just David.
We only have one.
As the oversight for the grounds. Barb, of course, has started her garden club, and we appreciate that. For the Fine and Violation Committee, since he drafted it, I'd like to assign John Genovese. Any questions, any concerns? Okay. I would like for, to tie in with the Facility Committee, our Art Committee oversight would be by Randy. Our Social Committee, and scratch SAC, they would prefer just to be called the Social Committee, okay? And that never identified as the SAC, and I certainly respect that request. And they are such a smooth running machine right now. If you don't mind, I would like to just be the oversight on that. Big job here, folks. The R&R rewrite and our document rewrite. I want to appoint John Genovese, and Barb is superb at details. I would like for her to be on that committee, and then they would recommend 2 owner committee members as well. Judy Lawrence will continue and has accepted the offer to be our insurance advisor. So we have some projects ahead of us that are going to need project oversight. The maintenance area, I think that needs to tie in with the E. So I'd like Joe and Pat to be over the maintenance area. Water management, we already have Randy and David as that team, but they will be working with, that would be grounds, correct? Or would that
Facility.
would that be facility then? Let's just add facility onto that then.
For which one, Deb?
Water management, stormwater,
Was that
Soil.
stormwater? That's the well, okay.
soils and
Sorry, we're on
runoff.
2 different lines. I got you.
We already have a great team put together for our water pressure and volume issue. So
Water flow.
I thought it was volume. You want water flow? Is that going to be water flow?
Yes, please.
It's water flow. So Randy, Charlie Lawrence, Steve Nicoli, and Mr. Jerry Miller have done a superb job on analyzing our problems, and they have time frames set up already for some of our backflow testing. Is that correct, Randy? Okay.
We're still working.
And the
Excuse me,
First
Deb?
Service.
Can I
Please,
interject for just
please,
a moment?
please.
Obviously, we as developer are going to be involved in interfacing with a number of these
You're on it.
groups.
Okay.
But I do want to say that we also are going to have to get the water issue resolved as part of our development. Our engineer is already working that
we
issue.
spoke with
And you're welcome to talk with him. At some point, it may become apparent that there might be a fix that the association is responsible for, but we don't know that yet. It may be a supply issue from Lee County Utilities, we don't know. But whatever it is, I think our engineer can coordinate to come up with a single solution.
Yes, he did mention to Charlie and I after the public meeting that he would have to model it, and he'd be working closely with us guys.
And I can see where some of these committees will cross over and have to cross over to consult with one another.
We might consider Dwayne being on that group as well as an oversight.
And I agree, by the way. So under the water flow one you're talking, Barb, so let's go ahead and pencil Dwayne in. Actually, we'll ink it.
Actually, when Cypress Trails was built, the county, in order to approve them, made them loop the system from Tice to Country Lakes. That's why they had to take that easement. So Dwayne and I have talked that it might be a good possibility that they're going to try and get them to loop somehow. I don't know how you get out to Tice again, but
Can't think of two men to head that up better than you two.
but that certainly would, I think, alleviate a good portion of the problem.
Hallelujah. Under the first service renewal contract, that will be Barb Burge, myself, and Joe's going to chime in since Judy or Emily is no longer here.
That was new to me, and I don't have any problem with that, but I do know that Pat has a lot of experience with the first service contract from the very beginning.
Not all good.
And
no,
you know,
it's not, is it, Pat?
And you know what? I have no problem, Pat or Joe, just one of you. It's time for a third party with prior knowledge.
Yeah, I just want to be sure that we'll have that third negotiator because we're going to need it.
I agree with you too, Barb. So. Mm-hmm. And Barb, I'll just leave that up to you to make that decision, okay? Thank you. We had talked about looking into the possibility of e-voting, what will also serve as survey results. And I would like to ask John Genovese if he would consider some searching on that and report back to the board if this is something that we should engage for our community. Did I miss anything that you think we should consider? Okay.
Deb, I have a suggestion.
Please.
I think we had some email discussion on it earlier this week. One of the needs that have been identified associated with growth of the community, adding Section E and 130 some new residents, is that we have a strained facility right here where we're sitting in terms of, you know, large events and
Yes.
having sufficient room. And this is something that affects the entire resort, not just the existing lot owners, but also it will affect the new incoming owners. So what I'd like to suggest that we do is that we establish some sort of a working group committee, what have you, that would address some sort of expansion to this ballroom that would accommodate that growth. And I obviously will be very interested in serving on it, and I think we need a few others as well.
Yes, and I should have added that, and I think that is a superb suggestion. So obviously, we'll get Dwayne on that right away. And you know what? Why don't we just have you decide who you want to work with that and let us know? Would that be okay?
Anybody who wishes to volunteer, speak now or forever hold your peace.
I volunteered.
Okay.
So we have
That's good.
Barb and Pat. Excellent. Excellent. Thank you so much. So the last thing, and I don't think we're going to get into the projects yet, but in front of you on the packet, ladies and gentlemen, we have almost completed the board and committees as a reference point, especially for our new members here. And it's the Excel sheet here with all the committees listed and the members of those committees. So what I'd like is for everyone to look this over, and if it's accurate, we'll go ahead and get it sent out then, all right? And then can you fill in the lot numbers, the phone numbers, and get the email on the grounds?
Is that grounds accurate? And as of when?
Well, it was as of those that were appointed by Emily.
Okay.
I started to say, Deb, we don't know who those are that were appointed. We were
It's
not
on your
in on
list,
that
okay.
as far as the
last
board
I
is
heard,
concerned.
it went from 4 down to 1 or 2 people remaining. I know I had spoken with Kathy
Okay,
Orris
so
about
guess
some
what?
involvement.
You're the oversight, so you can go ahead and, I love
Right.
delegating. You can go ahead and validate that and verify, and if we need more, then bring it to the board. And we'll look at who feels that they can serve on those committees. How's that sound?
Great.
All right. The last thing, which deserves a lot more than 5 minutes, so we're gonna set another workshop, okay? And I believe it's the second item attached. It's to identify our 2020 Cypress Woods projects. Gee, there's only like 30 of them, right? So it goes anywhere from our road repairs, the stormwater management cost, water volume issue, maintenance area, aged landscape, golf carts, pool furniture repair, which we can pencil that in real quick. What was the price on that design? It was 120 times 50?
50.
So we're talking 6,000. You can put that project estimated cost in on the pool furniture repair.
How about replace, because that's what we're doing.
It's replace?
Both of them are listed on there, repair and replace.
No, there's two different things. Oh, you know what that's?
So, hold on.
Oh, no. It's the patio furniture, the tables and chairs, meaning the dining sets, I guess I should say.
Okay,
Pencil that one in.
how much for the,
We have to add those to the bottom because they're not on. Oh, yes, they are. There they are.
Yeah, there.
I didn't even know I typed it in there. So the pool heaters, we should put an estimate of 9,000 plus because of
controller?
the controllers, and then on the what we have to put in is the pool electric. We have to pencil that one in. Well, you're right, ink it in for 4,600, correct?
Yes.
We got 7 minutes.
So anyway, let's go ahead and get our calendars out, and let's get another workshop. And right now, I really would love for only be one item on this, and that is to identify our projects and our funding.
Deb, could I please have it set that our workshops will be at 10 a.m.? It's very easy to remember 10, but when we switch it back and forth from 10 to 9, some of us don't remember.
Oh, are you really making an exception to that? Let's see.
You're the newbie. We get to pick on you.
Let me look. Early riser.
Come on, John.
What's your preference?
We'll call you.
I'll go with whatever.
Well, 9 o'clock it is then, right?
No.
No, you really, I thought you were teasing him.
No, I mean 10 o'clock.
Oh, my God.
Because
that's fine
that's
with me.
when the audience really would,
Okay.
more would be here. We
There's
never
typic-
have a schedule even for the 9 o'clock until we get together with Diane.
Fridays are open other than ukulele in the Omni room.
We
But-
just work with Diane, John.
So. I don't care one way or the other, and I don't want it to be a huge issue, but I do think we need to get this stuff knocked out.
Well,
But
would the majority like 9 o'clock? I mean, I don't really care either.
9 o'clock, raise your hands.
I prefer not.
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock.
All right, look,
9, Pat.
9:08.
Which
Kidding. Sorry. All right. Let's look at next week. There's going to be a lot of love in the room. What are you complaining about? I know, you're right.
And the next one we have.
I had my
breakfast.
sprinkler
Let's
training
put
for that
2
morning
dates, and
also.
then Diane can check the calendar. How's that sound?
We do it on a Thursday.
Can we do Thursday?
When is our,
8 a.m. Thursday the 13th. No, don't listen to me. I know what you're asking. First service.
I'm sorry, Deb.
Next Thursday at 8 a.m. we already have a commitment. Okay, so we could try 10 o'clock that day.
I've got a meeting. at
Wait
noon,
for.
So if we do 10, I'll only have 2 hours.
If
Yeah, I know.
Diane,
Diane says Fridays are typically the best day for us
But that's
to use
for
this
that's
room.
That's for our board
Valentine's
meetings.
Day.
normally, but
I'm wide open on Wednesday.
Deb, why don't you check with Diane, get a date for
And I'll
us,
send
and
you all.
let us
I'll
know,
send you options. How's
because it
that
doesn't
sound?
matter. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right. With that being said,
Make
hey,
a motion to adjourn?
second please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Do we have any questions from the audience that we weren't?
This session is no longer being recorded.